This is a day reporting center. It's an alternative to prison. The Georgia Department of Corrections and the Parole Board say it is cheaper than locking folks up, and early data suggests offenders here are less likely to wind up committing serious crimes again than those on regular probation or parole. The goals are said to be restitution, restoration, and rehabilitation. Let's look inside this program.
You know, those y'all that want to come with them contraptions wrapped around your waist.
Orientation Day for a new class at the Atlanta Day Reporting Center. Call them probationers and parolees that have one foot in prison and one out. All, we're told, have tested positive for drugs or alcohol. Without the option of coming here, most could have wound up back in prison to serve out the rest of their probation or parole. This is considered a last chance to change their behavior.
Mr. Sims, I'm David Carter. It's good to meet you. And is Maurice Sims, is that your real name?
My alias.
That's an alias?
Each offender is individually interviewed, past criminal history, drug of choice, education level, all charted and determining the path of recovery for each person.
No, you never had an
I need to go and use the GED lab. It's open.
Drug testing is scheduled Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Miss a screening, and it counts as a positive. No exceptions.
We had another trigger. We had the trigger of being upset.
For the first 30 days, offenders are not allowed to work. They must attend various classes to stabilize their behavior. They must complete all community service and stay clean. The next step is a full-time job and then attend classes every night after work. In the first 3 years after opening in 2001, 135 graduated the program. Only 5 have committed new offenses. That's a 7% recidivism rate compared to a nearly 27% rate for standard inmates. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Doris Downs says she was frustrated as a prosecutor and now as a judge with the logjam of drug addicts in the system. But now with sentencing options like the Day Reporting Center, that's changed.
When ADRC finishes with an individual, that individual is a contributing taxpayer. They're frequently paying child support, and I haven't met a single person in the community that doesn't think that's the way that we should be going. I will also point out to you that it's much cheaper than incarceration. So if we want to get smart on crime, this is the way to do it.
Not everyone can abide by the rules. If you test positive or violate other rules, you are confronted with an administrative hearing to decide whether you stay or go. Normally, the entire staff discusses the fate of each case. And in this case, an offender tested positive but denied that he had used.
I was back there too. Okay, so don't go there. Okay, don't go there. You denied using, because that's when I walked out, because I didn't want to hear it. So don't even go there.
Just 4 weeks away from graduating, his future is in the balance. But told that his grandmother was on the way, he changed his tune in a hurry. His sanctions now include an additional 80 hours of community service, curfew set back to 7 p.m., getting sent back to Step 3 of the 12-step program, and not graduating with his class. Perhaps worst of all, he had to tell his grandmother that night in front of a staff member that he had lied to the staff. Not everyone is so fortunate. Another offender is sent back to Fulton County Jail to await a hearing before a judge that could send him to serve the rest of his sentence in prison. The staff at the center eats lunch together daily. Discussing the progress of their offenders is typically the topic of discussion. There is wide agreement involving the family of the offenders.
We have a family night component to where we get the families involved in the addiction process, and we teach them how to recognize the addiction and how to be an enabler and not an enabler in the recovery process.
Once a month, family members are brought in to help them cope with and understand what their loved ones are trying to accomplish. The staff surveillance officer does unscheduled visits to check on curfew.
I'm sure a lot of people heard about their family members, their mothers and fathers,
They have a right to know. If they're living under their roof, they have a right to know what they're doing in the center.
Some offenders say having the family involved is like having two officers, one at the center and one at home.
The center addresses the needs of these offenders, the needs that actually lead to some of their criminality. If we can stop these offenders from committing new crimes by providing them with drug treatment, with education, with a job, and with change in their thinking, we're doing better for all of Georgia.
GED classes are offered 2 nights a week and are well attended. Look at the sense of accomplishment and self-esteem on the faces of these offenders who never completed high school, but now have a chance to fix a mistake. Department of Corrections Commissioner James Donald is in charge of one of the largest prison systems in the country.
I gotta have alternative solutions like this, where instead of locking you up, I draw a circle around you, and you just describe that circle. Because if you get caught in one of these positive urinalysis, guess what? You're going to be back in the big house with 1,000 of your closest friends, and they're going to be looking at you strange.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
That's the motivation.
Finally, after 6 months of classes, drug testing, and counseling sessions, graduation night arrives. This ceremony was held at Victory Baptist Church in Stone Mountain. Having a faith-based partner in the program is proving an asset. Family members, friends, dignitaries from the parole board, the Department of Corrections, local politicians, all in attendance. Next for the graduates, a 6-month aftercare program. But tonight belongs to them.
My short-term goal is to complete the program successfully and remain gainfully employed and be a productive citizen. And in a few years, I'd like to be a homeowner and grab my little piece of the American pie.